Welcome to Caregiver Cast with Mary Elaine. Are you overwhelmed raising a family, working full-time, caring for a parent or grandparent? It can be challenging when you're doing it alone. Caregiver Cast helps busy, burned-out professionals reduce their stress and overwhelm to create a better caregiving experience for themselves and their loved one. Caregiver Cast brings caregivers together with experts who provide information in a variety of areas. In each episode, you'll get tips on topics such as finance, legal, medical, self-care, community resources, mindset, and more. We're here to make your caregiving journey a more rewarding one. Acquire the confidence and skills to be a more capable caregiver by implementing the resources and strategies from these expert thought leaders. Get a community of support, resources, and strategies for your caregiving journey inside the Caregiver Lifeline community. Visit caregiverlifelinecommunity.com. And now here's your host, Mary Elaine.
Welcome to Caregiver Cast. I'm Mary Elaine, your host. My special guest speaker and interviewer this afternoon is Dr. Doug Lehrer, and he will be talking to us about soul-to-cell healing, 7 secrets to heal the body and emotions. Before I formally introduce Dr. Lehrer, I'm going to give you some background information about him. Dr. Doug Lehrer is a master transformational healer, visionary, teacher, doctor of chiropractic, board-certified quantum medicine doctor with the American Naturopathic Medical Association, and creator of cellular resonance quantum healing, or CRQH. Dr. Lehrer is the founder of Lehrer School of Energy Medicine Mastery and Rich in Health Foundation, a 501(c) nonprofit trust that trains chiropractors, physical therapists, osteopathic, oriental medicine, naturopathic, and functional integrative medicine practitioners, nurses, healers, and wellness professionals in cellular resonance quantum healing. Cellular resonance quantum healing is a clinically proven, evidence-based system in neuroscience, epigenetics, quantum physics, biophysics, energy healing, dynamics, chiropractic, Chinese medicine, meridian therapy, polarity therapy, neurolinguistics, neuroimmunology, neuroendocrinology, ancient wisdom, spiritual psychology, and universal principles. Dr. Lehrer has earned many healing technique certifications and awards in research and contributions to humanity. As well, Dr. Lehrer has participated in university medical school research with Department Head of Neurology, demonstrating the body's capacity to heal, which was thought to be irreversible nerve conditions. Dr. Doug innovated the cellular resonance quantum healing over the last 38 years through intensively performing over 500,000 healing sessions with leaders in consciousness, entrepreneurs, doctors, lawyers, CEOs, Hollywood celebrities, royalty, athletes, and our beloved moms, dads, babies, children, and teenagers. Those who seek greater health, love, inner peace, prosperity, higher spiritual connection, and soul consciousness. Dr. Lehrer, welcome to Caregiver Cast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Mary, very
much. Just reading some of the questions that you prepared for this interview, you've really sparked my interest, and I can see that you've done an incredible amount of research in all of those areas to bring about this cellular quantum healing. So let's start with, how did you discover how to heal the body?
Well, through my own self-healing process, I found that I was in excruciating pain
Mm.
like 39 years ago, 38, 40 years ago,
Hmm.
from two herniated discs
Oh my.
in my low back.
Mm.
And if anyone's ever experienced that type of pain, I also had really horrible migraines and irritable bowel and had a separated shoulder. And I had a lot of different health problems, hypoglycemia, and I passed out in my car a few times driving on the freeway. And I said, I
A
know
good
there's something
situation.
wrong. I know there's something wrong here. And
Hmm.
I went to the whole array of practitioners, psychologists, hypnotherapists, orthopedists, neurologists, rheumatologists, many different chiropractors in our profession. We have many different techniques, all sorts of techniques, uh,
Hmm.
some specialized osteopathic doctors and acupuncture, cupping, and the list goes on. But the most I received was temporary relief and still had all the conditions aforementioned.
Hmm.
And I got kind of desperate and finally just prayed to die because I figured, I'm 27 years old. I don't want to live this way the rest of my life.
Hmm.
That doesn't seem too good. But when I didn't die for a few months from that, I figured, all right, I better pray for something different. And I wasn't a prayer or anything like that, but
Hmm.
it was like, okay, in our last minute attempts to change our life, we pray to God, right?
Yes,
whether we're
I do.
whether we're religious or non-religious. Anywho, uh, I asked this question. I said, okay, God, show me how to heal myself.
Mm.
Show me what I'm missing, because obviously running around to all these doctors isn't working. And I discovered a pioneer in energy medicine uh, really quickly. That just kind of fell in my lap, so to speak.
Hmm.
And I heard that he had a seminar in Los Angeles, and that was on Saturday night. So the first day was already Saturday. I just intended to get treated, so I snuck into the seminar, and he treated me first thing in the morning in front of a group of 100 doctors, and uh, and my sciatic pain, which was the worst one,
Hmm.
and the weakness in my legs. I needed a cane to kind of prop myself up and also try to avoid some of the pain because it was
Hmm.
excruciating to move. I had no sciatica. The pain in
That
my
is
legs was
amazing.
gone. My strength returned to my legs.
Oh
And
my
I'm walking and
goodness.
I'm thinking, this is better than what I thought. This is pretty amazing.
Hmm.
How did that happen? I've got to learn this, like you started. I got to learn this.
Hmm.
And I decided I'm going to become the best in the world at this. That's how my ego mind thought at the time.
Hmm.
And 27-year-old whippersnapper, right? And
Well, it sounds like you were very determined and persistent to be healed. So kudos to you for doing that.
thank you. And then over the next few months, that all the other problems I mentioned, the migraines and
Hmm.
digestive problems and everything started to heal.
Wow.
And I was just in awe of that. And
Hmm.
I wanted to help people that way. I decided I'm not just going to like do what I was taught in school and adjust vertebra, which I was getting, happy results from patients because I was just graduated from chiropractic college at the time
Hmm.
and working with another doctor taking care of his patients. And and then he used to ask me, we can't figure out how to help this patient, Dr. Doug, you do it. And so I start working on all their hard patients and they start to get better.
Oh my goodness.
And so through the years of doing, treating over 500,000 patient visits, uh, I learned a thing or two about how to create a healing in each person.
Mm.
We're not trying to heal somebody in a few minutes, though sometimes it happens. We're looking at step by step
Mm.
resolving the true causes, and there's many causes, and we'll talk about those today. but the true causes of their problem, and restoring their natural ability to heal. Because the power that made the body heals the body. There's an energy system, an energy field system, a soul system that creates this human being from an egg of one cell to whatever 100 trillion cells or so. I haven't counted them, but the doctors say it's about that much, the researchers. And there you go. How do we restore the natural healing ability? Because doctors don't heal, and adjustments don't heal, needles don't heal. You know, you have to get the body to do what it was designed to do. And it's called removing interference. So we'll talk more about those things on removing the correct interference, what that interference is, and you know, how I approach it. I hope that answers your question.
It does. It just makes me think and ask you about, so you were healed through this just one energy session?
The sciatic pain in about 15 minutes.
Okay.
Resolved. It took a few months for me to remove enough of the mind-body energetic interference and resolve enough of the causes that we'll talk about to get all the different systems to turn on and heal. So probably, you know, 4, 5, 6 months to really get good, But you know, those problems, you know, haven't come back. And I'm a little bit older than 28, 29 now.
Did you learn how to implement these energy techniques that helped you with your sciatica, and that helped you continue to heal?
You know, having the work done on me was the key, because this is a technique that you don't specifically do on yourself. You as a practitioner, a doctor like myself, we do it with other patients. But I met my best friend in that class. And we've been treating each other for years. And other practitioners that, you know, that got trained. And then over the years, you know, we all figured out our own way of doing things. And I just happen to be extremely intuitive and aware of just this inner voice that just leads me on what to do. And then after I see that it works over and over and over again, I synthesize it into the energy medicine work that I was doing till now. It's amassed this very wide body of ways to access, and so I'm kind of ahead of myself on one of the questions, to access the causes and to resolve them. That makes sense.
Yes, it does. It just makes me, are there multiple techniques that you use in energy healing in order to, no,
just cellular resonance technique that I developed.
Okay.
It's a synthesis of many other energy techniques I learned from brilliant doctors, mostly, and then my studies in about the soul and spiritual, the way that we're designed spiritually, and a deeper look at why we're here as human beings and what our human path is. So I might share with you this. Well, okay. I'll wait. I'll wait for the question. And then, you know, my own take on those things as I synthesized and grew, you know, I started seeing that there was all these layers of ways of addressing this person, this whole being. I'll get a little deeper into that in a moment. Okay. And then that's what I teach. That's what I teach, you know, healing practitioners who, you know, want to improve their results. They want to really help their patients much more deeply than they are. You know, it certainly gives them the power to specialize in various areas, because I've been able to help most any condition. So it helps, you know, bring a lot more people come see me with all different kinds of problems, because I can handle so many different types of problems. And today, this work is needed more than ever as we start talking about the causation of people's problems.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see why I just said that, why I prefaced that.
Thank you for that. I'm waiting to hear more answers to the questions that we continue to talk about. So what is the relationship between the body, mind, and soul in the healing process?
So that was the first one I was kind of alluding to.
Yeah.
So what's so important to realize is you're not just a body. You're a body.
Right.
You're a mind, a personality, ego mind,
Mm-hmm.
being, and you're a soul, spirit being. Now, how could we leave out the whole person?
That's a really good question. I know.
The body only heals when it's connected properly to the other parts, to the mind and soul correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to treat the whole person. We have to treat the mind, the body, and the soul energies that flow through that body, and understand how it works. And so I might describe how that all works in just a moment. So yeah, the whole being. And so if we're just trying to treat the mind, then we missed two different parts. If we're trying to do like energy work and work on the energy, well, is it getting into the body? Is it affecting the mind? Sometimes, maybe not, most of the time not. And then if we're just treating the body, then what about the mind and the energetic system, or the soul that we are? Then that's why the symptoms come back. The doctors helped you, they adjusted your back. I felt a lot better when I got did chiropractic adjustments, but then the pain came back, or it moved, or I had another problem show up. And so it's kind of like the balloon that's blown up here. You can kind of push the air out of that side. You got the air out of that one, but now it's all over here. So that's how energy works. So if you do something over here, then there's going to be a reaction or response somewhere else. And the key is to not change symptom patterns, but to really help the body let go of the cause, resolve the cause, and allow the system to come back into balance, where it's really truly going to heal itself. You've got to get the body back in charge of healing. If you cut your finger, what do you need to do to make it heal? There's a power within us that knows how to seal up the cut, put a scab there, depending on the size of the cut. A paper cut, it just seals up, and the next day you look at it and goes, I cut myself.
Right.
It's healed, or maybe a couple of days, depending on how fast your body heals. And so it's about restoring the healing power of the body, and that's what we're here to talk more about.
I'm just really curious. I understand that there's energy in the body, mind, and soul. I am just really kind of curious, and we'll get into this, I'm sure, about how you locate, I guess, that energy within the person. I know we're getting ahead here. We all are aware of how stress and trauma are the primary cause of our physical, mental, and emotional health issues. So can you explain how stress creates our health patterns and problems? Because I know, many caregivers are under a lot of stress.
Oh yeah, our
Overwhelm
caregivers
and burnout.
Our most burned out population, and we need them whole and happy and healthy on all levels, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, to serve those who are in trouble, that don't know how to get themselves out of the place that they're in. So have great compassion and honor and respect for those who've gone into this healing profession to help other people. So let's talk about this. It's documented in multiple just journals consistently, that the cause of disease is stress. Dr. Herbert Benson of Harvard University stated, we must acknowledge, this is 30 years ago, we must acknowledge that stress is the etiology of all disease. Now, there's different types of stressors that we're exposed to, and I'm primarily going to talk about mental and emotional stress with you. We have a toxic load of toxicity in the world that gets into our bodies, and we need, the proper nutrition and supplements and things to help cleanse the body. But wouldn't it be good to get the body to, if you try to cleanse a body that's cleansing systems and detoxification systems are shut down because of mental emotional stress, then you're going to get limited results. So that's why I'm going to focus on the mind and the emotions and this kind of stress. I'll further state that Stanford University's ACE study states this. Take a deep breath. All people in the world are traumatized and abused. And it doesn't get better with time, only worse. That's the quote, the ACE study from Stanford University. And they continually update that study for year after year. The Spine Center, San Francisco, UCSF in San Francisco, before they do a back surgery, it's only places that I know of that does this, is they run an ACE study test on the patient. It's a scale of 1 to 5 on trauma, mental, emotional trauma, abuse, traumatization. And they take a test. And if they score a 4 or 5, they don't even attempt surgery because they always fail. So if you know someone, your patients that's coming to see you, had failed surgeries, these are the highest traumatized people within themselves. And this is what this is what caused the problem in the first place. This is what caused my herniated discs, prevented me from getting surgery. Not that I was going to choose that. I went to the top orthopedist in Beverly Hills, and he said, anything you can do to avoid surgery, do it, Dr. Doug. Do that. He gave me that doctor-to-doctor respect. And I really appreciated that. And he was a cool guy. We had a nice conversation. And rare that we people interfacing with specialists, let alone have that time and that wherewithal for that to happen, but it did. And so we have to look at stress and understand the stress cycle and how that affects the physical body, because a lot of people go, oh, well, there's nothing I can do about stress, but that's not true. There is, and that's what I've based my whole career on, and I've helped people, and I've trained hundreds of practitioners in this work to get, similar results to myself, to help people, because I want to help more people. That's why I have my School of Energy Medicine, where I love most of all training others and helping them heal, and then go to their practices and help their patients, and that way I can spread myself out in many different bodies by teaching these principles that do work. And you need to practice. You need to focus on it to get good and to get results. But isn't that true? You learn the piano, it takes practice, right?
Exactly.
Even if you have that in you to be a master like I did very quickly, I continually learn. 38 years later, after 38 years of doing this, I'm still learning. Still learning. I learned something just the other day, which is something like, that's just a little nuance. It's like, oh wow. But I knew what to do from my work, and then I just applied it and really helped this patient heal some things physically on them. So stress, well, I don't know if it's in the next question or not about.
Well, you indicated epigenetic stress. Is that where we're going? And
No, well, we can talk about the different stressors. So
okay,
absolutely.
let's do that.
Thank you, Mary. First of all, let's understand the stress response in the body. Whether you're a doctor watching this or a patient, a lay person who wants to get help, it's important to really get this. I know the doctors have studied it, but I really want you to think about it again in a new way.
Okay.
we have the fight or flight response, right? That's part of
Yes.
the fear response, the natural fear response to keep us safe from bears and tigers.
Correct.
This response is automatic. But what happens is when we get stressed about something, a bear or tiger, our body now records bear or tiger. And anytime we see a bear or tiger, we go right into the fight or flight. It knows what to do.
Yes.
But what about a stressful job, or a teacher failing us or telling us that we're dumb and stupid and that we're never gonna amount to anything?
Mm-hmm.
What about when a parent that we love criticizes us? Or what about when a parent dies, or our parents get divorced and we see dad drive off?
Mm-hmm.
Those thoughts, those feelings, those emotions, and what we believe in that moment all go into the subconscious memory.
Mm-hmm.
And Guyton's medical physiology book states 99% of all physiological responses, including how the brain works and operates, is controlled by this subconscious memory. So
Okay.
we have all this stress that literally records in memory, and
Mm-hmm.
then automatically during your sleep, during your day, it's there running and
Mm-hmm.
telling your brain, fight that bear. Ooh, brain, fight that bear. Send a message to the adrenal glands, put out cortisol, put out adrenaline, tense up the muscles,
Mm-hmm.
shut down digestion. If it's a big enough fear, you might have some loose bowels or urination issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
We always say, well, I'm so scared I peed my pants. It's a common one we hear people say as they laugh it off, but it's really true that these stresses now become the software that's running our body. And that's what we do in cellular resonance techniques. We have to update and clear that software, that outdated software. In that moment, maybe is appropriate to be scared, perhaps, but not a day later, not 10 years later, 20 years later. And so many stressors and things have happened. I mean, I work with people and all the time, I'll find the stress that's causing the problem and they'll go, I thought I was over that. I thought I forgave that person.
Mm-hmm.
Well, whatever you thought, whatever you did or did, it didn't work. It didn't clear the stress memory. It was still there in the background running the person. And if a stress, is working on that body and sending that same message to certain types of cells of the body, in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you're going to develop a dis-ease of those cells, of that organ, of that gland. And now the doctor's going to say, hey, you have liver disease, you have high blood pressure, you have diabetes, you've got cancer, you've got fibromyalgia, you've got whatever it is, whatever the diagnosis is, those are all effects of the stress. So I don't treat any of the conditions I mentioned, though I've seen lots of people with those and hundreds more. We work on the stress, on resolving the stress from the subconscious memory, which is everywhere. It's in the field. It infects this field, this morphogenic field that the medical books say this leads development and growth of the body. Mm-hmm. And through your life, it's what's supposed to heal you. I call this the soul body. So it's our soul that created us, this individual body, and it's a soul that heals us. And that's why I call it soul to cell healing. It's not some, woo-woo, cuckoo kind of name. It's really how it works. Mm-hmm. And so we have to remove the interference, the stress that's kind of stuck here in the field. We have people who are medical intuitives, like mm-hmm. Carolyn Myss, who's probably the most famous one, and she's written many books. They're awesome, by the way, if you haven't read anything by that author. Carolyn Myss, M-Y-S-S, Ph.D. And she talks about how she reads the field and sees, oh, here's that stress here with your wife and with your job, with your parents, and she sees it all in the field. And she says, that's what you have to heal. But Carolyn Myss will admit, she'll say, see an energy type of healer who knows how to get that stuff out of the field. I want to make sure it's not just out of the field, but it's out of everywhere that is communicating with the body. So we want to get the stress cleared from the cell memory, the subconscious memory, and the soul memory, and get that energy to flow through the body and around the body as it was designed. And once we get that interference cleared, then boom, the patient's going to go to sleep and wake up in the morning a little bit better. The next night, a little bit better, a little bit better. And that's the process that I take people through, is find all this stress that's running them, trauma.
So if that's really the case, it's just, I mean, I understand like the unconscious mind is really running our life 96% of the time. And if you can change that programming, then you can change your response. However, you're taking it, it seems, one step further and removing the stress response in addition to whatever you uncover unconsciously.
Right. The inappropriate stress response.
Okay.
You'll still have the fight or flight system in your body. We don't want to take that out. There are bears and tigers out there. There are buses we don't want to walk in front of, and trains and such. But yeah, the past memory on how we responded, we cleared that message to the body so that it stops reacting. And then we can make a new choice. Then we have an opportunity to make a new choice. Instead of fear, instead of hate, instead of resentment and anger and hurt, we develop a response of neutrality, presence, compassion, gratitude, forgiveness, and most of all, love. And love isn't like, oh, the person who did that so-called bad thing to us, that we're going to walk up to him and say, I forgive you and I love you. We all like, no. That's what a lot of people think forgiveness is. No, it's becoming neutral on it so that it's not affecting you. To be able to see a different perspective in it, all the way down to your cell level, so it no longer controls you. So that person that harmed you no longer has any effect on you. That's what unconditional love is. Just means I don't hold any judgment, resentments, negativities, hate, all that stuff, because who does the hate hurt?
Us.
It's hurting us. It's hurting us. So forgiveness is all about that. I think that's one of my latter questions. But hate hurts us, and so I take them through a cellular forgiveness process where hands-on, I'm touching the body, and I'm getting their body to let go of the reactions and responses to not forgiving. It's our resistance to forgiveness that's causing the problem.
That's an interesting statement that you just made, because it's I understand that forgiveness has to do with us, and it has nothing to do with the person that harmed us in some way. It's how we choose, like you said, to look at the situation and change our perspective about it. That's interesting that you call it resistance to forgiveness. So no, I love that, because we're really hurting ourselves more by not forgiving.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's no way you can heal yourself unless you forgive.
It's part of the process.
Right.
So we have to make sure that the forgiveness unlocks the subconscious memory, the subconscious memory response, the physical response, and the mental emotional response. And we want to be able to clear what we really believed deep down. And it's not always easy to figure those things out on our own, admittedly, because, I've tried to figure out some things on my own about myself. And then I go, okay, I think I got part of it, and then I, get together with my best friend and we work with each other, and we figure it out, and he's able to do it because we learn how, I teach how to communicate with the body and the subconscious mind
Mm-hmm.
And it will give us the answers if you know how to communicate with it. So,
Right.
so I teach how to communicate with it literally, and for me it's like seconds. You know, like I'm fast, so in
Mm-hmm.
seconds I got what it is and what the pattern is, and then we apply some light pressure on the body. And it's one of the questions here. You know, what's some of the secrets? So I might just share this one. Your body is energy. Your energy.
Mm-hmm.
Your hands have energy in it. They have different qualities of energy. So I teach about the different qualities of energies that come through the hands. And we want to have a pure heart. That's why it's important that practitioners come to a live retreat so we can help them heal their heart more, so that the heart energy is what's going with the hands rather than the mind, but the
Yes.
heart. So that we're in this place of heart, which is soul, and we just allow the soul to come through us, which is us, and them, both of us,
Right.
and resonate an energy pulse that erases the pattern. And it really works as simple as, if you remember recording music on reel to reel, on actual tape, or even like videotape on real video cameras, right? That videotape.
Mm-hmm.
You record this way, it'll record sight, sound, everything on the tape, right? But when you push it to go backwards through the recording heads, there's a vibrational energy there in the heads. When the tape goes through, it erases the tape. And so if you're old enough, you remember how we used to erase cassette tapes and videotape and all that stuff, and then we record on them. At least audio tape. I don't know if we can do that with videotape. I never did that with audios. So anyway, that's how it works. So the resonant pulse of the soul, or the universal pulse of creation, it's everywhere. It's in all life. And we have to get the cells to all resonate the same sound wave together, because they communicate through energy waves, energy pulses. So when the pulses become all jumbled up, then we call it confusion. And then that confusion kind of scrambles up the communication between the brain and the cells, between the energy body that's supposed to control the body. So we simply call it fragmentation. So stress fragments you. Like
Okay.
when we stress out our computer,
Right.
we frag it, right? And we have to
Right.
defrag the computer and reboot it and get rid of all the messed up information that's messing up the computer viruses, whatever, all that computer stuff. And the body works very similar. In fact, computers are kind of designed, after the human body and the human brain. I mean, the fastest computer in the world actually uses brain cells. They developed it in Israel using actual brain cells, and the way that the circuitry of it. It's probably fairly top secret stuff, but they did publish a paper once years ago about a computer that operated that way. So
Interesting that they actually made a computer with brain cells. Okay. I'm sure it's very possible. I'm just trying to see how that visualize that in my mind.
Science is far more advanced than the layperson has any idea of in this world. You'll see a lot of futuristic movies with all sorts of things in it, and a lot of that stuff has been around for a long time. But, they use, science is used to create products and to sell to people. So it's whatever they're selling. But you always see in popular mechanics, here's the new car of the future, right? They already invented it. They're just not going to sell it to you for 10 years. They're going to sell you these other cars, so with step ups all the way, and it's called materialism. So, which is kind of ruining our world. So, yeah, planned obsolescence of things that are made. But our bodies have a regenerative ability. That's what's different about us than like a chair. Medical doctor would see a chair, the leg is broken. Yeah, screw it back in, put it back here.
Mhm.
But the body works very differently. It's a very dynamic energy system. If you cut yourself, a doctor might think, how can I fill that in? But, from a mechanical standpoint, but no, it's an energetic thing that heals it. So you make sure the energy is good, and then the body knows how to just create new cells and heal the cut. And it's true of like my herniated discs. It's true of heart problems and heart valves and all these things. The body can regenerate those things. When it doesn't, it's because there's an interference. If you're trying to close your door, your front door, and it's jammed and it won't, well, it's because, the house is settled and the door jamb is, shifted like this. You mechanically have to shave off part of the door and do those things. But a human body can self-correct that. And doctors don't see that collapsed, that kind of degenerative or collapsed valve in the heart. If we heal the heartbreak, if we stop poisoning the body, with whatever we're putting in it, and get a healthier diet and healthier blood, we get that brain to relax and send. So there's only two messages the brain sends out: survival, fight the bear. That'll make your blood pressure high, your blood sugar high, your muscles tense, your bladder let go. It'll shut down digestion, and it'll do thousands and thousands of changes in your body. But if you keep on doing that after the stress is gone, the bear is decided on, turned around, went away, and your body's still running from it, still reacting to it, that's going to exhaust you and create dis-ease. Interesting word they use for illness: dis-ease.
Yes.
A lack of ease. And that's all it is. So we're just treating the lack of ease by de-stressing them and righting the brain and nervous system to come out of survival mode. That's one of the secrets I mentioned. And get out of survival mode. And by default, it'll go into healing mode. And it knows what to do there.
Okay.
It's a dynamic healing system. I mean, it created you from one egg. You think it doesn't know how to make an eye? It made the eyes in the first place.
Exactly.
That egg didn't have eyes. That egg didn't have a heart or a uterus or prostate. All right. So we resolve the stress, and then we store that energy, and then that energy knows how to recreate and rebuild that. And just, depends on, your age and how degenerated your body is. So, older people, it might take a little longer to get better, but, I've had people that, had degenerative, had rheumatoid arthritis, for years. They were walking with walkers. In a matter of months, they were walking without the walker. They're walking normal. They had no pain.
Wow.
But you have to want it. You have to want to get well. You have to want to deal with the stress. Now, the cool thing is, a lot of people think dealing with the stress is going to be, it's going to be so traumatizing. I understand that in traditional psychology and other forms, it can be and is. But this is very different when we're working with the energy. When we touch a few points where the stress is located, the person focuses on it, literally in 15, 20 seconds, the body erases the pattern. So all of a sudden the person's feeling it, and then boom, there's a release of energy and calmness.
Wow.
I was working with this lovely researcher, scientist at Keck Medical School here in Los Angeles on a research project. And she was a young woman. And she had tremendous grief since her father died a couple of years ago. And her visit was, scheduled for 30 minutes with me. And within the first 15 minutes, some tears came down gently. And then there's a shift, and she opens her eyes and she goes, "How did you do that?" I said, "Do what?" She says, "All the grief is gone." See, it only took a nanosecond for you to go, Dad died.
Mm.
And not even, a nanosecond. I took a couple seconds to go to demonstrate that kind of, bad acting here now in Hollywood. But the point is that it can resolve very quickly. But everyone's different. Some people have built a lot of energy around a subject. And so we need, more time and, space and energy to help them. But most people within a few months can get over most conditions, whatever it is, most. There's some that are more degenerative and it's going to take time for the body to, they may be healing the rest of their life, the arthritis. But they don't have the pain. They have good mobility. They can dance again. You take an X-ray and the arthritic findings, most of it is still there, but the body's changed its response. So it's really not those physical findings that's causing the problem. See that all the time. I had a lady with a knee that was in so much pain, and the doctors told her, she was about 75, about 70, 75 years old. And the doctor said, no, you need a knee replacement surgery. So they sold pretty good on that one. And, so she came to me, to consult. And, I said, well, the pain's coming from your adrenal glands and the stresses in your life. And we need to work with those stresses that are making your adrenal glands, send a message, to pick up your knees and run from that bear. And she was kind of skeptical. So she went and had surgery. Came back 6 months later, still in pain. After the surgery, says, my knee still hurts. In fact, I think it's worse. Well, I told you, even though you had physical findings in the knee, it wasn't the physical findings causing the problem. This is so important for people to realize. The physical findings, the gallstones aren't causing you pain. The body's making gallstones, and the thing that's making gallstones and making the gallbladder so-called diseased is still your mind and emotions. Your subconscious memory that's reacting to something. Gallbladder happens to be typically resentment. So whatever that person's resenting is got a hold of them. So you got to resolve the resentment. When the gallbladder relax, and the body will change its pH, its acid-alkaline balance, which will then break down the stones. The body's always making stones, and those stones are soft anyway until they build up too much calcium within them with the fatty stuff, cholesterol stuff. And when the body makes cholesterol, by the way, it's all your cells are wrapped in cholesterol. We don't want to lower that. We just want to get the body to not overproduce too much from stress. Because it thinks you're fighting a bear or tiger, that means you're going to need cholesterol to repair the cell linings, right? Because the bear's all clawing you, so you need that to rebuild the cells. But there's no bear. So you end up, producing too much and stopping up your body with it. So, but it's still being created by your mind. I pointed the head, but the mind's everywhere. Remember, it's everywhere through you. So let's go back to the knee patient.
Okay. So
I worked on her for about 10, 15 minutes and corrected the message from her brain to her adrenal glands to her knee. Whatever that stress was, 90% of the time we don't even know what the stress is, but we can pick up the pattern that it's coded and clear the pattern. And then it changes it. And her knee pain immediately went away. She goes, oh, my pain is gone. I said, yeah. How did you do that? I said, I told you it wasn't in the knee. The pain was being produced from somewhere else. So we have to treat that. So she stayed, and we worked on getting the rest of her healthy and get her muscles more balanced and everything like that, so she could live a healthier, happier life. Because when you help people heal physically with my work, you're also helping them heal mentally, emotionally, and vice versa. They come in with an emotional thing like the grief that the scientist came in with. We helped her do that, but that helped her immediately open up her heart to men. She lost her father, a man, opened her heart and start a new relationship. So really, really cool things happen when you really heal the whole person. They become more successful, they make more money, they have better relationships, attract a very lovely relationship, self-love, of themselves, and they feel more connected, more peaceful and loving within. You know, we have to live within ourselves. And if we're always in fear and anxiety, you know, and inadequacy, what kind of place is that to live? That's, as my father, I'll quote my father, that's a living hell. People live with their living hells. So we help people to heal that stuff. And by doing that, they, you know, they're able to heal most anything, things doctors think are impossible. You know, and I'm doing my best to not sound sensational in any way, because some people have to work really hard through the process to get well. Where I had one lady, best example of that. I know I'm kind of answering all the questions, aren't I?
Yes, you are, but we will go through each number. So
Yeah.
don't worry, we have time for this.
Okay, so I'll share the story about a woman who was just someone at a corporation that hired me to come in and do an in-service day, a healing, you know, for my subject was stress, how to deal with stress better and how we did that. And I did some demonstrations. So I had this 28-year-old woman get on my massage table that I brought with and demonstrated how her mind worked with her body, how when she thinks different things that her body would get weak or tense, to show how the mind-body interface works, mind-body energy interface. And I touched a few points. I found that she was stuck in a particular negative pattern. We didn't talk about the pattern at all, you know, what it was, just cleared the pattern. Well, actually, we did. Actually, we did. We started clearing the pattern, and then it led to something that happened to her when she was 13 years old. It was a stress at 13. So I had her think of that stress, touched a few points, it resolved it. It really is that simple. Not always easy, because people can have, like I said, a lot of different thoughts and feelings about things, and you need to, you know, have to ferret that out. But in her case, she was a very simple case. It was like one thought, one thing happened, cleared, touched a few points, and it was cleared. And that was it. Now, she didn't even tell me what she had going on with her. In fact, I don't think I even told you yet. But she calls me a month later. She says, you know, what you did on me, you know, at the company, at the office? I said, yeah, I remember you. And she said, my Crohn's disease is totally healed.
Wow.
In the maybe 15 minutes I spent.
Oh my goodness, that is incredible.
So I see these things happen. I had a young woman who came to see me who was raped and hadn't had a boyfriend in 2 years. Just would not let men get near her. And she was a very attractive 22-year-old woman. I mean, but she had that wall up and no one approached her, and she kept them away, and she was keeping herself safe. We resolved in her particular case, because this is not most people. In 15 minutes we worked with her, cleared it, resolved it, and that response. And she came back the next week, says, oh, I'm back from my visit. I brought my new boyfriend with me.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah. And you know, most people take a few months, you know, of coming multiple times a week for those 10 or 15-minute sessions to unravel it. But that's what happened for her. Now, let's go back to Crohn's disease. I was in Israel and I met a man, a lovely man. His name was Or, which means the light in Hebrew. And he was 28 years old, same as the woman. And he had his Crohn's started when he was about the same age, 13 years old.
Oh no.
Now, in Jewish culture, what's that mean, 13 years old?
Yes, you go through a bar mitzvah.
Bar mitzvah, you got to be a man. And he had a very, you know, Israeli tough father. And he was a very gentle, small framed, short young man. And he was just very, you know, short doesn't mean you have to be not tough. Some of the toughest guys I've known have been short guys. You don't want to mess with them. But in his case, he was very more demure, more feminine. And his father didn't like that. And he got beat up a lot for that once he turned 13. And then he went into the Israeli army. or is required. I think it's 3 years. And, tough drill sergeants all the way up. It was just tough. And then his Crohn's got even worse, much worse. So he took about 35 visits of those 15-minute visits, 35, for me to unwind and resolve the stress with his father, to come to peace with that, to let go of the Army PTSD, post-traumatic stress from that. And then I left Israel, at that point. And so, he was feeling better, but his sister called me 6 months later, because she lived in Los Angeles where I practiced, and said, "I want to come in and see you with my son. He's having behavioral issues. You remember I'm the sister of Or. Do you remember him?" I said, "Oh yeah." She says, "Yeah, he healed. Took about 6 months, after you left, but his body went through the healing process, and he was totally free of the Crohn's." So one person 15 minutes, the other person, many hours over, a few, whatever time frame, a month or two that I was in Israel that I treated him, and then a few more months for his body to unwind and do the healing, letting his energy, his soul body that created that body, to heal the body and get well. And so this process is very scientific. It's just based in quantum physics and understanding the physics of the soul. And these are things that doctors don't get trained in. So I did my best to talk about stress and what we do know in science, so that the doctors who are listening, the health practitioners, can get an idea of the stress response, and we have to deprogram it through the body, through the physical body. That's how you get the results. Repolarize the brain, rebalance it, and then finally get to a very personal self-forgiveness, other person forgiveness process that you lead them through with cellular resonance technique to help them, so that we make sure that we leave no rock unturned and actually help that person truly forgive where it really works, where the cells respond, and forgive means to let go, and the cells let go, and then the mind lets go, and you're free from that, and come to a new consciousness instead of a fear-based consciousness, fear, which would have all the negative emotions attached to it: rage, anger, hate, resentment, grudge, abandoned, abused, and for it to all be neutralized into love, into just present time consciousness. It happened, but I see the good in it for me today, because we have to see the good in it today. Because it's over. So what other choice we have? We can continue seeing the bad in it, then we get to be sick. So it's our patient's choice, Would you rather be well, or would you rather be right?
Exactly.
Well? You want to be well, want to be healed, want to have a better life? Great. Want to be right? Just keep doing what you're doing. And you'll get more of that you're creating. But let's talk about epigenetics.
Let's go right there. So what's the difference between, I guess, stress and epigenetic stress? Are they the same thing?
Yeah. Well, the response is the same, but the origin is different.
Okay.
So the response is the same, causes the disease, but the origin is different. See, if you have a stress yourself, you're 9 years old, and your parents get divorced, and your father leaves, then you have your own experience, because a 9-year-old has its own consciousness. Age 9, 8, 9, you have your own consciousness.
Right.
Enough. That's you. You experienced it, you felt bad about it, and it traumatized you and went into memory. Now that's controlling you physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically, or spiritually, hurting your heart. Epigenetic is that the mother thinks the thought. Maybe generations back, your grandmother thought the thought. And that thought went into your mother, that went into you, the egg. And then you're conceived and born and you have this problem, and this child has this problem, and they're 6 years old and they got leukemia or whatever. It's like, oh, how did they get that? Well, they reacted and responded to the parent or the grandparent or the genetic lineage, the family lineage stress. And there were triggers along the way. Each generation built up until it became intolerable to the physical cell and then creates a disease. So we need to resolve the epigenetic stress that's now recorded just like you would experience it yourself. So I'm going to give you an example, probably one of my very favorite cases. And it also happened in Israel. I had this young girl. She was shy of 12 years old, about 11 and a half. And she had been born with 2 holes in her heart, 2 pretty good sized holes. It wasn't killing her. I mean, the heart was beating and everything, but blood spurts in other directions, and therefore she really couldn't be an active girl. So she was fairly, sedentary. Just quiet, sits at her desk, really smart. And when she's about 2 years old, she could speak very well. And she goes, "Mommy, no doctors. I'll tell you the doctor that's going to heal me." Wow. So when I met the mother, the daughter was with her, and the daughter whispers in the mother's ear, "Dr. Doug's the doctor that's going to heal me." And that just took me like, whoa. Because I'd only said a few things very similar to this conversation. But I don't think it was the words. I think it was the energy, the love she could feel, and an intuition that she was connected to that knew. And I was, pardon me, get all the tears. And I was just absolutely, taken by this little girl and what she said, and said, "Well, let's help you." And so when a child's born with a problem, the first place we have to look, doctors, healers out there in our group, is what was on the mother's mind? What was the stress the mother went through during pregnancy to interfere with the natural morphogenic field of that baby, making her a perfect baby, and it interrupted that energy and created that physical problem. So we got to remember, this is a problem of the heart, physical heart. So guess what the cause was emotionally? That's right, an issue of the heart. A few months into the pregnancy, I don't remember how far, I think it's probably about 5 or 6 months into the pregnancy, the mother deeply loved her husband, a really wonderful man, absolutely divine partners. You say, "Well, I'm going to attract my soulmate." This was her soulmate. And he suddenly died.
Oh my gosh.
Put a hole in her heart and the baby's heart. So I worked with the mother and child. Got to work with both. I teach this in my level 2 class, how to do this, and help them resolve this epigenetic problem. Once they're past 8 years old, then we don't necessarily need the mother. But this girl was 11 and a half, and she was still like a baby, not separated from her mother. So we worked with that, and then she became her own person, and she's already graduated from college already, and she's But the point is that she went back to I only worked with her for a few hours, probably about her mother about three and a half hours, and her about three and a half hours over a couple of days. So I did some longer treatments, energy work of cellular resonance, and she went back to Hadassah Medical Center in Jerusalem, where she lives, and the doctors, the cardiologists, did the tests, what they call for pre-op, because they wanted to cauterize the holes. She was now old enough. They wanted to, she was grown. They wanted cauterize the holes. So they did a few tests to see whether they're going to do it, and shrug their shoulders. We can't find any holes. There are no holes.
Wow.
So that healed the body, remove the interference. So even if you have a pain in your heart and it's a knife, we got to it's an energetic one. We got to take it out if we're going to heal, right? Well, that's very physical. So we're going to need to stop some bleeding and do some medical procedures that medical doctors do as well as they can with the technology they have today. And but we got to remove the stress. Once you remove the stress, then the body can fill that hole, heal that hole.
That's incredible. So
that's an example of epigenetics. And we all have epigenetic stress in us. We all are being run by our mother, father's thoughts and feelings, thought field of what our parents are experiencing, especially the mother, because we're of the mother. So we're not getting down on moms. They're amazing. But her thoughts have the biggest influence on the child. And dad, you have the biggest influence on mom. So,
can I ask you a question? That makes a lot of sense. And those stories are really profound. So thank you very much for sharing those. What if the epigenetics started on the father's side?
Yeah.
Does that influence not only the father, but the father who has children afterward? How does that work?
Yeah, again, remember, everything's a memory. So we just need to find the memory and clear the memory. It's pretty simple. So wherever it comes from, mother, father, grandmother, 6 generations back, grandmother. I mean, I had one family that the women all got pregnant at 14 and had a baby. Generation after generation. So this mother, multiple generations.
Oh my gosh.
Of the mother getting pregnant at 14, and then that baby that was born at age 14, then when she was 14, she had sex. That's how you do it. And she had a baby at 14. And so it's going back generations. So this mother came to my office with a 14-year-old daughter and said, after you treated me and resolved my thing, I realized I better bring my daughter in so she doesn't get pregnant. It was too late. She was already pregnant, but we helped resolve that in her, and when her daughter became 14, she didn't get it.
Wow.
So we broke the cycle.
Nice.
And helped her, and we helped her, the 14-year-old, heal whatever we needed to help her heal, and the mother heal it, and the grandmother. Great grandmother was already passed on, so I got to treat those 3 generations. And the baby when it was born too, and so 4 generations, and with that healing, they all raised all 3 of them, grandma, mother, and daughter raised baby together, and we broke down we helped them heal those barriers and become a closer family. So this work helps to do what I call miraculous work. But, as my mentor used to say, I don't believe in miracles. I depend upon them. And, really, miracles are just things that the mind can't fathom. But it's just the way the universe, the way energy, the way the soul works. And we've been raised in a way that we're pretty unedged. We don't know about these things. We were trained by a belief system, believe it or not, a belief system of how we should run our lives, which are different in different cultures with similarities to work in this world of materialism and staying alive. And so, I mean, my kids went to school, they were said, here's healthy drugs and unhealthy drugs. Wait a minute. Healthy drugs? That's what it said in the book. Like that. They all have side effects that cause other unhealthy things. So but it's a lot, so it's, so what's true and what's a belief, or a lot of times our beliefs, our dogmas, we think are what is true, but they really aren't. There's something much deeper. So, or at least it's, a truth is just a little piece of the puzzle, and we can't say, well, that's the truth. Wait a minute, there's all this other data that you don't have. And in quantum physics, Einstein said everything is energy, and that consciousness leads energy, and that the binding force of the universe, mankind, I think you use the word mankind, but I'm going to use the word humanity, will find in the future that love is the binding force of the universe. It's what makes everything work. When we come into that resonance, we will change the world. And that's what I'm doing with cellular resonance. I just do my part to help change the world by making it healthier, happier, more at peace, because the true path to all healing is the journey from fear to love, from the soul to the cell, the embodiment of the soul, the embodiment of love. And when we live in that place, consciousness changes physicality. Bioenergetics control biochemistry. Doctors are trying to treat the biochemistry. I go to the energy to see what's creating that biochemistry, change this, and then this changes over here.
Correct.
That for a lot of people is unfathomable because they just see it as a physical world. But energy is what leads the world. I mean, the sun feeds grass energy and it grows.
Imagine.
It creates chlorophyll, green, the sun. We go out in the sun and our body makes vitamin D. The energy world is everything. We need to learn to live with it, commune with it, heal with it. And then we have an opportunity to not destroy ourselves, not destroy our health, not destroy our relationships, not destroy our businesses, and not to destroy our world.
That's fair.
All the top scientists say, they said this 10 years ago, we got 20 years and then no life on planet Earth.
I can see where we're heading in that.
If we don't make a change.
Right.
The immediate change is consciousness. Enough people change their consciousness. Those people get to benefit by healing their bodies and their lives, but they shift that. We're all interconnected. They raise their consciousness to a higher state. The rest of the world follows behind it to raise its consciousness. It's as simple as in marketing. When 11% of the people know about a product, everyone knows about it. They know this in marketing. It's something about consciousness. When 11% of the world knew Golden Arches, Ronald McDonald, Happy Meal, McDonald's, everyone knew it. Everyone knew it. We go to the deepest, it's hard to go to the deepest place because we got, TVs everywhere now. It helps. But, back at the time, back when that was published, not everybody had that, but they just did. You went in the Himalayas, if you were carrying a little backpack with Golden Arches, you'd see some old Nepali man go, "Oh, Golden Arches, McDonald's." McDonald's, pardon me, that's not a very good Nepali accent. That was very bad, really bad. Forgive me, Nepali people. All right, and that's how consciousness is. It's at some point, 30 years ago when I was helping people come in and they had a neck pain, and I had said, I want you to think about happiness and clear the person's unhappiness, and the person gets off the table and says, I want you to fix my neck, not my head. I said, well, turn your neck. Oh, my pain's gone. I said, good thing we fixed your head. Now people are just coming in and mental care and mental illness is like on the forefront, and it's no longer like a bad thing that you're mental. It's like, yeah, we're all a bit mental. We all admit that. Now we have an awareness of that. And so it's a new consciousness. But if there wasn't me and the other doctors who do this work and doctors in, similar spaces, talking out there, the Barmate talking about mental health and healing and stuff, and so many others are contributing into this pool of consciousness,
Mm,
these awarenesses, then all of a sudden, we have people go, oh yeah, I always knew that.
yes,
Yeah, so cool.
definitely. Well, I definitely think, yes, we all need to have increased this level of consciousness within our world, because it really changed dramatically the last decade or so. Let's just go through the 7 secrets to heal the body and emotions. So what is key number 1 in healing the body and
Right.
emotion?
One, you have to realize that stress is the cause, and we
Okay.
have to treat the stress. We have to treat the cause, not the effects. That's 1. 2 is,
Mhm.
oh, I'm just jumping out of amazement. What's number 2, Doctor?
Yeah, well, go right ahead. What is key
Okay.
number 2?
And
So first we find and resolve the cause.
you got to acknowledge stress is the cause, and that
Okay.
there's always a stress with every condition, and that we need to find that stress, that cause. 2 is we need to right the brain and nervous system. We need to get the mind, bodies, and out of reactivity, out of survival mode. Remember 2 modes: survival, healing. So we've got to get this physical body out of that. So whatever we do to resolve the cause, it has to have an effect on the body to go out of survival and into the healing response.
Okay,
That's what heals the body, not us. We're the facilitator of it.
correct. Body does everything. And number 3, key number 3 is?
And let's see, key number 3 is
So we go from the cause to getting the person out of survival mode. And key number 3 is?
in healing the body and emotions. So we have to get to the very specific feeling, the very specific stress, the specific energy. So in the little girl with the heart, the hole in her heart was the loss of her father. So one of the feelings was loss, right?
Right.
Loss, heartbreak, and the key energy to help her heal was love, because her mother loved the father deeply, and suddenly love partner was gone.
Oh my gosh, that must
So
have been
literally
very
we had to run the energy of love and through the child, and that's what got her out of the hurt and the loss and the heartbreak. How about that? Key number 4 to healing the body and emotions. We must resolve cell-to-cell communication. So remember, your cells, they communicate via energy impulses. Energy impulses. If one cell is playing, I'm going to use the radio as an example. If one cell's playing country music's Done Me Wrong songs, and these other songs over here are doing rap, with a bunch of 4-letter words, and then this other cell here is doing, some, made up love song that's like a false version of love, right? Those
right.
songs. It's very confusing. These cells aren't going to communicate right. But when we can get them all, I'm going to make it real simple. We can get them all pulsing the feeling of happiness. Let's say that's what we need to resolve all this. It's not that simple, but I got to make it simple as an example. Now they're beating, they're pulsing together in happiness, all 3 cells. Now they're all communicating. When they're communicating, they can say, hey, pituitary cell, this is the pituitary, this is the thyroid. Hi, pituitary. Hello. I need some thyroid stimulating factor so I could make some thyroid hormones so I'll have energy to send to the mitochondria, because the mitochondria is saying, hey, we need thyroid. We need thyroid. But if the communications is messed up, they're not going to do that. But you restore the communication, and all of a sudden, pituitary gland makes thyroid stimulating factor. Then the thyroid makes thyroid hormone. Then the mitochondria gets that. All the cells of the body get that hormone of thyroid, and all of a sudden we have good energy. Our skin tightens, our body burns fat. All that starts happening because they're communicating. That's how I do weight loss, by the way. That's how I help people that way, and how I help hypothyroid and Hashimoto's and all sorts of them. You just get the cells to communicate. So that's the key number 4.
Okay, so key number 5 in healing the body and emotions is
living from all 3 brains. You see, we have 3 major brains, and this is known in science. We have our gut brain.
Right.
We know that the gut has, I believe they said, more like brain cells than the brain. The heart brain, which responds much faster than the brain to anything in the environment. The heart responds first. That's all science. And then we have the brainy brain. I just call it the brain, the head brain. All right, so which is just to determine, do I turn left or right when that bear is coming at me, when that truck is coming at me, boom, this way or that way. It's like, knee-jerk responses. If you just live out of programmed knee-jerk responses, our life is going to go pretty hectic. And then we're going to create more stress because we're not in our heart and we're not trusting our gut. So we have to get resonant with trusting our gut, because it knows not to marry that person, but you did anyway, because your head goes, oh, whatever it's doing. The heart, we need to be able to express our heart, listen to our heart, what our heart knows, really knows. And we got to get all 3 to work with each other. So we got to get these 3 brains working together. And that's the best way of not creating more stress and more stress programming. We've got to get it in there. That way we start making choices and decisions based on our inner knowing, our intuition, on our heart knowing, and the brain just taking orders and doing what's necessary to complete a task. When we do that, that's health, happiness, and success. So there it is.
Okay, well, I'd like to know how you do key number 4 and 5 and get them all working together. We'll get there.
Yeah, again, based on polarity that I talked at, getting the cells to start vibrating and energetically all aligning together. So that's what cellular resonance technique does when you touch the body, your hands. If the audience wants to do this would be cool. Take your hands, smack them together 3 times like that, so they kind of burn a little bit. Then rub them, and then put them out. And everyone do this with me. This will even work if you're watching the replay, because there's a constant in the universe called the universal pulse of creation. It runs through you and around you, and it's what connects all life and all consciousness, all healing. And we need to be within the resonance of this universal pulse that goes through the entire universe. This is science. Got it from the science books. Now, you start feeling a pulse in your hands. I'm going to tell you when you feel it. Now. 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 Feeling it, Mary?
Yes, I am.
Now. So if you really did this, you'd feel this pulse. Now. I'm kind of rocking my body with the pulse, because when I really get into it. When I'm working on a person, they see my hands shaking and they go, "What is that? What are you doing?" So I'm not doing anything. That's the pulse of creation going through me and you, and the interface of the energy between you and I, the soul. And that's the soul. I like to call it the soul pulse, or the God pulse, or in science they call it the universal pulse. All right. So we use that pulse. So it's a matter of applying the pulse at the right place, at the right time, with the right focus. And then you have to be able to access the stress pattern and get the patient to work with you to access it. And like I said, I access it in seconds, literally. Sometimes it's 5 seconds, sometimes it's 20 seconds, but it's seconds. And then we apply the touch, and then that resolves it. And then once the person gets realigned energetically, boom,
Mm.
when the healing power takes over. So
Um,
that's how we do it. And
Thank you.
then, yeah, and then key number 6 we talked about, which was forgiveness.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say much more on that, except for forgiveness needs to resonate through the cell so that the cell lets go of the memory. The subconscious lets go of the memory, and the soul body lets go of the memory. And you consciously have a shift in consciousness, which is key number 7. You have to raise your consciousness. I say from fear to love, because those are the 2 base, emotions or frequencies. But fear comes in many directions. Let's say, hey, you hate that person. Well, we've got to raise the consciousness from the hate, fear-based consciousness, to love. Does that mean you get all ooey gooey with the person? Heck no. They hurt you, they'll probably do it again.
Right.
Okay? But what you do is you come to resolution with it. It's over, over, and I use that energy to make my life more successful. And you resolve it to love, you bring more love, consciousness into you, and compassion. People do the best they can with the programming that they have, with the upbringing they had, with the epigenetic family lineage that they had. Everyone's here because we're here to grow and to learn. And there is something that's training us to be loving, whole, perfect, and complete as the image and likeness of God that we are, which is the soul. And so it's for our mind and it's all its fears and all its programming to resolve all that so we can unify the cell with the soul. The mind is the cracks here, and solve it into a unified being. And then we live life according to love, to our soul. It knows what to do. It's always going to do the right thing in that place. When the mind steps in, then there's always a duality that takes place, a wrongness that might be there, right? And a fear that can jump in there. So the more we resolve that, then the more free we are. And have a free mind and not have all those voices going around and around. You're no good. You're never going to make it. And kind of push through all that self-talk. I went to a meeting of a men's group, and they wanted me to, talk about your self-talk. And I'm going, I don't have any self-talk.
Right.
They were in disbelief. But I've been clearing on that self-talk for 35 years. I still find some subconscious talk that's there. And so I get, I still work on myself on a regular basis, because better is better. And I want to be the best being I can, the best example of a human being as I can, and help as many other people do the same, to raise their health consciousness and not be controlled by the past, even if it's their epigenetic family lineage past, or they brought that past in from other places.
Wow.
So there you go. There's those are the primary secrets there.
I think you covered them very well. I just have a few more questions here. And what are the most common health issues or reasons patients come to you for care?
Yeah, I see so many different kinds of conditions, and I mentioned a lot of them already.
Yes.
And I would say that the most common conditions would be the most common conditions that people have. Does that make sense?
So, yes, it does. So I'm assuming like diabetes or something.
Well, for me, chronic pain.
Oh, yes, of course.
75% of the world is in physical pain, migraines, headaches, shoulder pain, knee pain, back pain, neck pain, some sort of abdominal pain, some kind of pain. And remember, pain is always a blocked energy where it builds up. So there's excess energy now and that excess energy is causing the pain. If the
Okay.
excess energy stays there long enough, it'll degenerate that area. Then doctors tend to blame that area, that degeneration. That's the cause of your pain. But no, that's an after effect.
Mm.
They probably had that pain a long time. So, so is resolving those pain situations. I'm about 99% on that. On getting to that. If a few tough patients can elude me, but you know, that's a rarity. If it's a rarity, I usually get there. If they stay long enough, I'll figure it out. You know, people give up, you know, quickly. What can you do about that? You know, that was their big problem, just giving up too quickly in life. And I didn't figure out that that's what their problem is, giving up too quickly in life. So that one. Second and third would be depression and anxiety and panic attacks.
Okay.
And so people just, you know, being, you know, in those places, and they get stuck in that loop. And then a few other things like grief, like the scientist came in to see me about the grief she had with her father's death.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, really the array of chronic illnesses, you know, arthritis, you know, rheumatoid arthritis, you know, just there's too many names. I mean, I've seen people with Lyme and Crohn and
Mm-hmm.
you know, PCOS, you know, polycystic ovary,
Mm-hmm.
you know, menopause. That's a real common one. Hot flashes, thyroid problems, super common. I've seen, you know, thousands of those, thousands of all the other ones I mentioned. You know, we just help get to the stress that's creating it, and then we recircuit all the places where the stress is, you know, blown the circuits. Recircuit it, get the stress out so the circuit will stay, and then the pituitary can communicate with thyroid, for instance, and do its work. You know, I've helped people with prostate problems and breast problems of all different names. I help people with, you know, leaky gut and all the digestive problems. Another big one is sleep disorders, because if you don't sleep, you don't heal. If you're in pain and you're producing excess cortisol and you don't sleep, well, you're not going to lose weight. So that diet's, you know, futile. And even all those thousands of dollars of supplements and things, you wonder, well, I got a little better, but you know, no, you didn't treat the real problem, which was the organ glands that aren't functioning right, the nervous system that's not functioning right, your energy system that's blocked up with energy blockages from the core cause: stress, trauma, and your negative thinking. Remember, negative thinking is part of stress. You know, once the stress happens, now we think about it all the time, you know, and worry about it and fear it. And is it going to come back? And, you know, is he going to, you know, come back and hurt me, or, you know, whatever it is, even if that hurting person is not even in their life anymore. You know, behind bars or dead or whatever. You know, I mean, according to statistics, you know, about 25% of all people, men and women, but obviously top-sided with women, are abused sexually. And I've had people come in with sexual abuse, and you know, they said, I think my father did it, but I don't remember anything. You know, generations back, epigenetic, their great-grandmother got abused by her father, and they're having this memory. You know, and it would be horrible for you know, a therapist to ever go, okay, let's work on that and try to get you to remember and doing all this stuff, when it's like, no, you know, it's not the father, it's just a memory from generations back. So I would say the majority of the ones who can't, not all, but a large percentage, it's epigenetic. It did happen, but not personally to them, but they're responding to it and living like it did, and that's real. You know, is it real or is it Memorex? Remember that old TV commercial?
Yes.
Memorex audio tape. It's just a recording, and that recording is real, but what happened on the recording is not yours. So we just have to, I call them stress memory loops. That's what I basically do. I'm a stress memory loop specialist.
I like that.
Get you out of the loop.
Okay. Let's get back in the correct loop.
And the other half, so my practice has changed so much. So 50% of my practice is all those health problems. The other 50% are literally people coming in to heal themselves, heal their relationships, heal their money consciousness, and to embody, to really feel their true self, to really feel and be truly interconnected inside, so they don't feel this weird separation, this, like they don't belong here, and to really feel good with being in their body and living in this body, and all those type of issues that go along with all of that, which is another hour to talk about that. We won't do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to have you come back.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Wow. I'm just really impressed that you've healed like 500,000 people. It just,
Well, I have done 500,000 sessions. It's about 20,000 people.
oh,
20,000
okay.
patients who on average have done about 25 sessions, 30 sessions. So 20,000 people times about 30,000 sessions would be, just, over 500,000.
Exactly.
The times that I've worked with a person. And every time you work with a person, it's a different person, because once you change their energy and change their dynamic, they're coming in each visit a different person, a better version, a more whole version of themselves.
Oh my gosh, that is just
Creating
really
wholeness. It's about creating wholeness and restoring the perfection of creation within the person.
wow. That's just really mind blowing.
So I didn't mean to-
So with this cellular resonance quantum healing, how do you find time to treat and train doctors in the program when you're healing people with medical problems or relationship/financial issues? When do you find time? I mean, there's only 24 hours in a day, Dr. Lehrer. So
Yeah,
how
I
do you
need
manage
help.
that?
Yeah, I'm changing and shifting things. I am going to see very few patients in the future, because my focus is on training more practitioners, speaking to them, doing interviews like this one. Thank you. You're introducing me to a group of healthcare workers, home care, I believe.
Yes.
To
Family caregivers.
family caregivers, to understand where their source of suffering is coming, why they're this way. Remember, there's only 3 causes. They're all stress. One is their own stress, trauma, emotions, thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. That's 1. 2, physical trauma. They actually got hit by a truck, and that's what they're in that bed for, right?
Right.
So they've been damaged that way, but they have the memory of that accident, and they don't recover from it because all this stress here is keeping them from healing this injury. Got it?
Yes, I do.
So like I had a person come in and, their bone wasn't, they broke their arm, and it was, they call it non-union in medicine.
Right.
So I just figure out what's the stress that's keeping it from doing that, clear the stress, and then it starts growing together again and healing. So there you go. And then the third one is toxicity from our environment.
Okay.
So that's our diet. It's our diet. That's the chemicals we put in our clothes, in our food, in the air, in the water, and that includes drugs, which are, or that's always a big PDR with all the side effects of drugs, because they all have negative side effects. Pretty much, 99.9. It's only a natural plant type ingredient is not going to have a negative effect. And then somebody's going to go, well, when I eat this food, I feel horrible. Well, yeah, because your body has associated that food to a bear or tiger in your subconscious, change your physiology to react to it as if it was a danger. Because, I had a patient that there was a stress with his mother that went into drinking orange juice. So every time he drank orange juice, he'd get sick. We cleared the stress with his mother. Now he can drink orange juice and go, no problem.
Oh my gosh, that's
all allergies are emotional, right? At the original thing. All right. So does that
Mm.
mean you should continue drinking orange juice? No, stop drinking, stop doing the thing that you're allergic to, like being around cats, let's say. I some people say we want a cat. Can you get my kid over the cat allergy? And we do, because it's an emotion. And once we clear the right emotion, then
Mm.
we put the cat on their lap, and the kid's going, "Look, mommy, I'm not sneezing or running my nose. I'm petting a kitty."
That is incredible.
That's a true. I'm imitating a real patient. That I treated a whole family concierge at their house, and at a friend's house, and they came over to the friend's house who had the cats, and they went like, "Oh my God, there's cats!" So we
Wow.
treated her for the cats, and then she said, "Now can I get a kitty?" And the mother goes, "I wish you still had the allergies. I don't want to have a cat." So I worked on the mother about having a cat. Now they have a cat. Everyone's happy.
Okay, good. Okay,
Yes.
fantastic.
Yeah. So healthcare workers
Mm-hmm.
having the compassion, knowing that this is what's made your patient sick,
Mm-hmm.
is to take that ease and to come from a deeper place of compassion, and that'll help you find less stress. But your trauma, the things that led you to be a healthcare worker. I know a lot of healthcare workers, they took care of sick parents who demanded that they take care of them, and then that's just what they got used to doing, and then they start taking care of other people, and that's why so many of them are stressed and not doing well. So to take responsibility and get yourself healed from your past that created that, so then you can give from a clear heart. That's going to be important. And then the people are going to get more of what you have to give, and you're not going to get sick from it.
That would be really nice.
And
I'm sure caregivers would appreciate, or healthcare workers would appreciate, knowing everything that you've been discussing this afternoon, so that they can feel like they can give more of themselves if their cup is full. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
So we're going to do programs where healthcare workers, doctors, they're the most stressed people, from healthcare worker of any kind, from caregiver to MD in a hospital, and that stress. It's stressful to have to deal with all those things and not know how to help people, see patient after patient die, or whatever it is. I mean, the biggest population of drug using professionals and that are hooked on it, and alcohol and drugs, is medical doctors, and they can't say it, or they get fired from the hospital, but they can come to a program like mine where I don't treat anything. I'm going on retreat. I'm taking a week or 10 days or 2 weeks off to go on this retreat with Dr. Doug, and we're just going to do meditation and de-stressing stuff. Oh, cool! That'll be wonderful. And then we work on them, and and help them to resolve whatever's got them stuck on that. Because I've had medical doctors come to me, get me off prednisone, get me off Xanax, get me off whatever it is. I don't bill insurance companies, so there's no, it's safe, and
Right.
and I don't write all those things down, because all I'm doing is balancing the brain and body and helping people to de-stress themselves. So keep it general, but on paper, but specifically we help them resolve those stresses, and I'm outside the system, so everything's copacetic and fine. And then I, of course, always disclaim that I'm not a physician that treats, diagnoses, and cures illness. I don't do that. All right. I'm just helping support the mind, the body, and the soul. And that's the person. And so we'll be doing those. The more practitioners I can heal, then the more people we can invite to those programs, because I have more practitioners to help me, until we have 1,000 people in the room, 100 practitioners, 1,000 people. Wouldn't that be great?
Yes, definitely. I think we all need to work on our mind, soul, and body. I totally get that. I think any way we can help somebody overcome their trauma or their negative beliefs is just really critical, so that, like you say, they can become whole.
Yeah. So is there anything else you'd like to ask me, Mary? before we go, because I have patience. Believe it
Yes,
or
I
not,
know you do have
I have
patience.
patience into the eating. You say, "Oh, this
Oh,
is my lunchtime." So how
oh,
I do
no,
that?
no
It's a
problem.
long
Just
lunch
really,
to talk with
no.
Mary, which I adore her, and that's why I'm on here with her.
Well,
And
thank you. Just
and
really briefly, just,
yeah,
you have a special gift for our audience. So could you please tell us about that before you
yeah.
go see patients?
So I wrote a book, and I'm actually going to yeah. I wrote a book called The 7 Quantum Healing Secrets, and it goes through these secrets. It gives you a few things you can do as home care providers. Some exercises if the people
Hmm.
are open to it. And now they're not calisthenics; they're all things they do with breath or with their mind, and so you could understand them better, and you get some questions to ask. And it's really more than a book. It's really a mini course, and
Okay.
tells you some things to do. So it's not like those free ebooks that just sell you on whatever the person's doing. I'm hoping that it influences you to go, this is really cool, I want to learn it, but learn the actual technique that I teach, and then go for mastery and get certified, which is a longer process than the initial retreat that we go on, and help you to learn this stuff and get treated yourself. So it's the value is probably a few $100, just the information that's in there, and so just read through that. I'm still going to rewrite it to put some other videos attached to the book that
Hmm.
kind of demonstrate some of the things, and I haven't got to do that yet, but still, it's a valuable book as it is,
Hmm.
and I will be selling it on Amazon as soon as I get the rewrite, which is just basically putting the links in and rewriting the first page, because I have a medical doctor who read it and said it's fabulous, but they wanted me to rewrite the first page to introduce it a little differently. So
Hmm.
so I have a link for that, which is
Great.
I think is it soul2cell.com
Yes.
/7QH secrets.
Yes. Yay. Thank
Is
you.
that it?
That's it.
7QH secrets. Quantum healing is the QH.
Mhm.
So I probably should have written it out. But anyway, it's so it's soul2cell.com /7, the number seven, not
Mhm.
the word, number 7, and then QH secrets.
Thank you
And
so much.
and then all you do is just click that link and come to a page. It says sign me up for it. As soon as you do what I ask you to do, just boom, your email, so that it'll email you the book. And it's a beautiful book. I mean, I had it designed, and it's
Mm.
pretty, but the information is what's valuable. And so there's some things in there that will help you to take a look a little differently. And I'm working on a full-length version of that book that goes much deeper, with a course attached to that one that goes much deeper into the healing process with the mind and the body and the soul. And it takes a much deeper look at forgiveness, because I want to help many more people. Because a million people can read my book, not a million people can get treated by me
Right.
individually. So if they can start, if a million people will buy the book, and I'm giving this one away here. I'll talk about the new one, and start working on themselves, we can make a better world. And then I wanted to have that book available for doctors, for functional and integrative medicine doctors, to say, read this book of Dr. Lehrer. It'll help you
Mhm.
a lot. And then we're going to get started and do some energy work that Dr. Lehrer has taught me. And that way we can help patients with many more problems than we were able to at the time, and help more people. And that always makes a more prosperous practice, a more fun practice, especially when you're seeing those results and they're referring lots of people because you help them. I don't advertise. I haven't advertised in years. No
Mm.
one knows I'm here in the huge city of Los Angeles. I don't have big billboards up, but I get calls every day from people that say, I heard you, you could help me, and I want help. So will you help me, please? Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, Dr. Lehrer, this has been an amazing interview. Thank you so much for this free gift. It sounds incredible. And I would like to tell everyone in the audience to download it because we all need to build up our consciousness so that we can start healing not only ourselves, but everyone around us. So thank you so much for that. And thank you very much for being on and sharing your words of wisdom with us.
You're so welcome. In the book, at the very, I think the second to last page, my website, my patient website that gets you a consultation is in the book. So if you want to talk to me, that's in that link is in the book. And of course, if you wanted to talk to me about learning cellular resonance quantum healing, great. You could use the same link, though my website for that's a different website for that, which I'm building right now. But I do have the page, the sign up page for my course. But if that's something that interests you, then just contact me, and I'm happy to talk to you about it and make sure it's the right fit for you, and bring you into our school. Because it's an application school, and to join us so that we can do good work. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lehrer. I really appreciate your time and your just knowing those 7 secrets to heal the body and the emotions, so that we can do like the soul to cell healing is amazing. So thank you for sharing today.
Thank you for listening to the Caregiver Cast today. Get a community of support, resources, and strategies for your caregiving journey inside the Caregiver Lifeline community. Visit caregiverlifelinecommunity.com. Get involved with the show. Send your email to mpetrucci2002@gmail.com. And we'll see you again next week for another episode of Caregiver Cast.